Everyone says they want to be great, they want to make a rep side, they want to play in the NRL. But most people don't even come close to following through on whatever ability they do have. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't care, but because they're missing one thing that actually keeps them on track: accountability. If you've ever started strong and then dropped off, if you've ever said, I'll do it tomorrow and then didn't, this episode is for you. Because today we're breaking down why even the best athletes in the world don't do it alone. And why, if you're serious about getting better, you need more than motivation. You need someone keeping you honest. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Joe Murphy. I co-founded League Fit Academy 9 years ago to help young rugby league players build their body, their skills and their mind. And we now work with thousands of players all over the globe, from juniors in under 12s right through to players preparing to go into their first full-time NRL preseason. And of all the things that we've provided to those young rugby league players, a high level of accountability is probably one of the most impactful. At its core, accountability simply means you say you'll do something, someone else checks if you actually did it, and you take full responsibility for the outcome, good or bad. That's it. It's simple but powerful. And for most players, it's a missing piece, because it's one thing to want something, it's another thing to do the work required every day without slipping. And let's be real, that's hard to do alone, because when no one's watching, it's easy to skip things. You might train hard for a week and then lose steam. You might mean to eat better, but forget to track. And that's not because you're lazy, that's just human nature. Accountability stops that spiral, okay? It creates structure, and structure builds consistently. Think about it. How often have you pulled out your phone just to, check something quickly, only to snap out of a daze 10 minutes later, not because of some heroic act of willpower, but because someone else interrupted you? If they hadn't said something, you probably would have kept scrolling for another 5, 10, maybe even 20 minutes. That's the power of another human being simply being aware of what you're doing and being interested enough to call you out. And if you think accountability is just for beginners or for those that are weak-willed, I can tell you it's not. The best athletes in the world rely on it. And not just early on in their careers either, but the entire way through. Let me give you 3 examples. First, Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian ever, winning 23 Olympic gold medals. But from the time he was just 11 years old, all the way through until retirement, Phelps had one coach, Bob Bowman. Now, Bowman didn't just give him workouts, he gave him structure, mindset training, and emotional discipline. He held Phelps accountable every single day for 20 years. Phelps didn't grow out of needing a coach, he grew because of it. Next is Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, 2 absolute goats of the NBA that had the same performance coach. Both MJ and Kobe worked with Tim Grover, a private coach who oversaw everything: their strength training, their skill work, recovery, and of course their mentality. Now, those 2 were relentless, but so was Grover. He demanded excellence, and they welcomed it because they knew that left unchecked, even the greatest can slip. They didn't see accountability as a burden, they saw it as a competitive edge. And the third and the final example is Novak Djokovic, quite possibly the greatest tennis player of all time. Djokovic's longtime coach, Marianne Vader, worked with him from 2006 to 22. In that time, Djokovic won 20 of his 24 Grand Slam titles. Now, Vader tracked every part of his game: training blocks, tactical prep, technical refinement, and mental focus. For them, accountability wasn't a phase, it was part of the foundation. Now, if you're still not convinced, let me give you a personal example from my own experience. I've been training people for almost 25 years. The first 10 or 11 years, they were general population clients, the majority being mums and dads looking to lose weight and teenage boys wanting to get jacked, right? Now, the first 2 or 3 years, I was learning my craft, getting results with some, but not with others, and getting frustrated with why particular nutritional plans seemed to work with some people, but not with everyone. I was then lucky enough to attend a 4-day conference and learned the skill of taking skin folds using a skin fold caliper, which is a tool used to measure the thickness of body fat skin folds at specific sites around the body to estimate body fat percentage. Now, this little skill skyrocketed my results with clients, and my career as a trainer really took off. Why? Well, all of a sudden those ineffective nutritional plans started working. As it turns out, it wasn't that they were ineffective or they weren't working before. It's just that a lot of my clients were flat out lying to me about what they were eating, and being a little naive, I believed them. But I learned very quickly if they told the truth, we saw really good results in the skin folds. And if they lied about their food, we saw those results too, just the negative kind of results, which was their skin folds going up. So I'd been lucky enough to stumble across an amazing accountability tool that more than doubled the results I was getting with my clients. But that's not the end of the story. About 18 months later, a little app called MyFitnessPal launched. And that's where things really went to the moon, okay? Not only did MyFitnessPal allow my clients to track everything they ate on a regular basis, but the functionality of the app meant I could check their food diary in real time every single day. This meant I could check Steve's food diary at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday, and I could see that instead of eating a chicken salad at lunch, which is what he was supposed to have, he had a burger and fries. So I would send Steve a text. Hey Steve, interesting choice for lunch today. What are you planning on having for dinner to stay under your calorie target for the day? couple of minutes later, I'd get a message back. You're a nosy bastard, aren't you? Fine. I'll have a protein shake in water and a punnet of strawberries. I replied, sounds good, and left it at that. And you know what? His skin folds went down that week. And basically from that point on, so did the skin folds of over 90% of the people working with me. The results with clients, they just improved ridiculously. I was getting more referrals than I could handle. I was even taking the skin folds for most of the other trainers at that particular Fitness First. In that year, I took home Fitness First New South Wales Personal Trainer of the Year. And the biggest factor in all of that was that I had created a system to keep my clients fully accountable. Now, sure, my clients could have lied when filling out their MyFitnessPal, and there was a small fraction that still did this, the ones that didn't actually get results. But it was the combination of them tracking their food, me checking their food diary remotely, and then taking skin folds regularly that delivered amazing results. To put it simply, they said they would do something, I would check to see if they did it, and then they would take full responsibility for the outcome, good or bad. So what that looked like for my clients was they said they would do something, which was to track their food and try to hit certain calorie, protein, carbohydrate, and fat goals. I would then check that they were doing what they said they would do by checking their food diary and by taking their skin folds on a regular basis. And then they would take full responsibility for the number that we'd see when we took those skin fold measurements. Because you can't lie to the skin fold calipers, right? The numbers are what they are. So what have we learned so far? Accountability isn't optional, it's essential. The greatest athletes in the world, Michael Phelps, MJ and Kobe, Novak Djokovic, they all relied on long-term, high-level accountability from coaches who pushed them, tracked them, and held them to a higher standard. It's no different for a 14, 15, or 16-year-old rugby league players just trying to better themselves. When someone is watching, when someone is checking in, and when there's real feedback tied to real results, everything changes. But the formula stays the same. You say you'll do something, someone else checks if you actually did it, and then you take full responsibility of the outcome, whether good or bad. So now the question is, who's holding you accountable? Your goal now is to find that person, that accountability partner, who's going to support you and your goals every step of the way. In a program like ours, there's a coach doing this every day. They're checking your training, your nutrition, your habits, all of it. That's what we do in our setup, a coach in your corner 5 days a week, keeping you honest and on track. But if you're training solo right now, you still need someone. So your goal is to find that person. Now, who could it be? Maybe it's your club coach. Maybe it's your dad or an uncle or an older sibling. Or maybe it's a teammate who's just as committed to leveling up as you are. Whoever you do choose, they need to meet 3 criteria. First, it must be someone who knows you well and someone you trust. You need to feel comfortable being honest with them, even when you fall short. Second, they should have at least a basic understanding of the game. They don't need to be a specialized coach, but they should know enough to recognize what good habits and standards look like. And third, and most importantly, it must be someone who won't go soft on you. They need to be willing to call you out and hold you accountable when you're not holding up your end of the bargain. Once you've found that person, tell them what you're working on, share your weekly goals, and ask them to check in. Because remember, every single top performer in the world has someone holding them accountable. And if they need it, so do you. Because accountability isn't about being told what to do. It's about realizing that when someone's watching, when someone expects your best, you show up differently. And over time, that version of you becomes permanent. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. And the surest way to build that consistency is accountability. Trust me, because I'm Joe, and Joe knows.